I'm Tom Rioch, promoting successful business experts, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Rachel Gogos, CEO of brandiD, a web design and development firm that's as interested in touching your soul as it is in raising your bottom line. So Rachel, how do I know when it's time to rebrand or refresh my existing brand?
Great question, Tom. Thank you. When your content is no longer relevant to who your target audience is, that's when you know it's time to refresh. When we launch our brands, our websites, whatever that might be, our LinkedIn profile, we're at a certain level in our careers and attracting a certain clientele, right? If we're a service provider or selling a particular product, whatever it is that we do, in a couple of years, maybe a little bit more, right? There's going to be change. There's going to be growth. Growth is inevitable and change is inevitable.
Right.
And that's when you know it's time to start rebranding. And how deep you go really depends on how deep the changes are.
And those changes, and really literally today in the business world, we're talking 2025, it changes every day.
Yeah.
Something's changing every day. I'm saying not everything changes, but some things change.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, though, you want to be consistent in your messaging, right? Both in what you say and the frequency of how often you say it. So you're probably not going to be doing a rebrand or a refresh more frequently than every 2 to 3 years, right? And at that point, I would update messaging and I would update look and feel, maybe update photographs, those types of changes you want to make. And it is really driven by your I think, we're as entrepreneurs and founders, our own, how do I say this? Our own evolution as individuals is so tied into the evolution of our work and our businesses. I think they're very much tied together. And as we grow and change and evolve, so do our businesses. It doesn't mean that the services we provide completely change. I mean, sometimes that happens too. And of course, that necessitates a rebrand of absolutely. But sometimes our own up-leveling leads us to start attracting clients that are at a different level, right?
No, I see. I'm looking at your site right now, and what called attention, I see the word brand. And you say it's a noun. And you say that a brand is an expression of your personality and reputation that strongly differentiates your business from all other market competitors. So it's really the you, it's the personal aspect. You can have the brand, but we have to keep, I don't want to say refreshing, but we have to, and in today's world, we need to maintain our reputation because that seems to be the high value point. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think our reputation precedes us, but it's up to us to communicate to people what our philosophies are, right? Who we are. We have to show up online, especially if we're owners who own remote companies, for example, right? If you don't own a brick and mortar, like you and I don't own brick and mortar companies, we have to be visible where the audience is, and that's the internet.
There's 8 billion audience persons out there. So we have a global reach. Not we, anybody has a global reach. And so, and we don't always see who we reach.
Right.
So we're trying to protect a reputation that other people see or hear or feel.
Right. So true. We're trying to convey that. And I think, testimonials are a great way to do that, right? It's a third-party affirmation of your work. That can be done on LinkedIn. That can be done on websites, right? You can put testimonials out there and convey the results of your work from your clients. That's a very powerful way to do that.
But to your point of personality, it's also good to show yourself, to be there.
Yeah, you have to. Because people connect with people, right? That's who they want to do business with. They don't want to do business with the brand name. They want to do it with the human behind the brand. And more than ever today, people are really, really curious to know who is the leader of a particular company that they're supporting, right?
Well, I've seen it even on LinkedIn that you mentioned. You can see it's being more valued today. I've just seen that, of having short videos, of placing yourself, talking and showing. It's a touchy, huggy feel.
Well, a video is so powerful because you get to connect with someone, through sound, through visual, and it's just much more connective than just reading somebody's words and seeing their picture. You start to get a feel for their energy.
And it seems, I think there the authenticity comes through.
Yes, totally agree. I remember when I first launched my business thinking, I can't believe somebody's sending me thousands of dollars in the mail without actually meeting me face to face, right? Like, but that it's actually to this day, like I'm still a little bit blown away by that, even years later, right? Because it does take an enormous amount of trust to do that. But to your point of integrity, I think it is very much felt and communicated, even by Zoom when you can look at somebody in the eye. But it is definitely too just you can feel somebody's conviction around the work that they're doing and their tone of voice and their the words that they say. It's not just the tone, but you feel it.
Feeling. It's a feeling that you have to feel it.
Yes.
But I agree with you because years ago, and since I'm in Brazil, much of my business and much of what I do really is to attract either investors or persons or businesses from outside of Brazil to Brazil. And so many of my connections were virtual. And many times I never met the people. I did meet them maybe later when they came and we offered services or whatever. But that feeling of being found and back to what we do about a brand, personal brand, because I'm a believer in personal brand even before companies, but they're the part. But we have to keep showing ourselves. And it was really what persons saw on the internet that they sort of believed that I'm the guy, I'm the person. And then once you can interact by phone at that time or whatever, then they become a believer.
Yeah.
But the hook on the fishing rod has to be out there and has to attract. And today everything is searchable.
Yes, so true. Just like we were talking about before we even hit record, right? I mean, images are searchable. ChatGPT just started making images. If you ask it to make an image of you now, my team was playing around with that yesterday. I got a real good laugh out of that, but that's a little side note. But to your point, audio content is searchable, video content searchable, right? And of course, text has been searchable for a long time. So.
But to that point, people are searching. They've taken that as part of their process, their personal process, their business process, their everything process.
Yeah.
They decide to search. They can be inside a store today, but they're going to be searching while they're in the store for whatever.
Yes. Yeah, for a better price on the same product.
Anything. So we need to be reachable through searches.
Yes. And be putting out, back to the relevancy piece, right? Like putting out content in any of those formats we just talked about.
Right.
That's relevant to how you want to be perceived or what you're selling or what it is that you're doing in the world today. Very
good, Rachel. So how can our listeners find you?
Best place to reach me is on LinkedIn under Rachel Gogos. My last name's Gogos. It's one of the shortest Greek last names out there. It's only 5 letters. And the other best place is on our business website, which is brandid.com.
Very good. So Rachel, thanks again for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And again, for our listeners, it's Rachel Gogos, Rachel, and the last name Gogos. That's the brandiD.com. You'll find her on LinkedIn. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at their site, focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening to Cafe and Networking Podcast.